Hello and welcome to your monthly horoscope for April for the Sun or the Ascendant. Now I'm going to give you a broad overview of what to expect before diving deep and exploring each of the 12 zodiac signs in forensic detail. So please stay with me for that analysis. Now the big takeout of this month is that we have 2 new moons, and when this happens, the second is known as the black moon. The first new moon is on the 1st in the go-getting sign of Aries, but it combines with Mercury, the planet of ideas, the planet of communication. Aries energy is about initiation and fresh starts. Let's hope some fresh energy is coming through in a constructive way for us all. The second new moon is in Taurus, the next sign on from Aries, because the Sun moves on into Taurus on the 20th. Now this one is in a sextile with the ruler of Aries, Mars. But Mars moves into the sign of Pisces on the 15th. Now Mars moving through Pisces can be a very meditative, or our actions can be very much behind the scenes. Sometimes people who are involved in enterprises such as mining or deep sea diving have Mars in Pisces in their natal chart. So we can expect some things going on behind the scenes that could be positive. And Mars is also in a conjunction with Saturn in the first 9 days. Now Mars in Capricorn, as it was, especially in its conjunction with Pluto, which became exact on the 3rd of March, is a very, very challenging influence. And we know that there has been an outbreak of violence in the very heart of Europe, which is deeply troubling. But once Mars moved on the 6th of March into the sign of Aquarius, and now at the start of this month is combining with the co-ruler of Aquarius, Saturn, there's a much greater desire, I think, collectively to try to get things working in a way which may not be perfect, but is certainly better than that real fight for power that has been imposed at, the latter end of February and the early parts of March. And one of the very uplifting parts of this month's energies is that Neptune and Jupiter, the 2 co-regents of Pisces, are in a conjunction within 3 degrees through the whole month. And on the 12th, that becomes absolutely exact. I think that that can be a very healing dimension. I really pray so. Also, Venus moves into Aries on the 5th. Now, Venus in Aries is, to be honest, in detriment. But I actually have always liked Venus in Aries because I think it gives us an impulse to try to relate. To take the first move, not to sit back and wait. So for me, that can be very positive. But on the 11th, Mercury does move from Aries into the sign of Taurus. Now it is going to be clashing with Pluto from the 9th through to the 12th. And that clash of Plutonian energy still in the sign of Capricorn through to 23, part-time goes into Aquarius, then moves into Aquarius in 24, and we really get the start of the Aquarius age, I feel. But we also have the Sun mirroring the right angle with Pluto at the heart of this month, and then that brings in the full moon on the 16th in the sign of Libra. So we have a T-square going between Pluto, the Sun and the moon. And I think that's going to be an interesting point of how there's a pushback against power being used in the wrong way. And the combination of Neptune and Jupiter, which after all, Jupiter is about hope, Neptune can be about healing, but in their home signs, I'm really hoping that there will be a fundamental pushback at the heart of this month, which does see an improvement in Central Europe. Now on the 20th, we do see the Sun, as I mentioned before, moving into Taurus, and then on the 29th, Pluto slams on the brakes. So obviously Uranus was still in retrograde at the start of this year, but this is the first of the big beasts going into their annual retrogrades, and it's going to go on until the 7th of October. This is going to be really interesting, I feel, because the sign of Capricorn is about old power. The sign of Aquarius is much more about taking the best of that old power, but being enlightened about new techniques, being more inclusive. So Pluto going into a retrograde will be interesting for certain political strands in the world. You know, people who've held power in a much more authoritarian way could retreat, or perhaps just reset their purposes. But on the 29th, Mercury does move into its home zone of Gemini, and that can be a really brilliant point for much more communication starting to ping around. Also, the 30th, that wonderful Taurus new moon is in a very positive angle with Mars, suggesting that if we actually take the best of what we already know, or what's been evolving over a very long period of time, which is Mars coming through in its journey. Obviously it moves at the heart of this month into the sign of Pisces, so by the end of May it's going to be readying to go into Gemini, where it's going to be for the rest of the year, because it goes through, and into the first months of next year, because it goes through a retrograde. But I think that what we're going to see as this month comes to a close is much more constructive, workable ways of approaching some of the transitions that may have gone on this month. Now, if you are new to my channel, thank you so much for listening so far. Please, I'd be delighted if you would subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. And if you'd like to get your free written daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, please subscribe on the link below. It'd be great to have you with me. And also, if you'd like to get your 12-month forecast and character analysis based on your time, date and place of birth, and ascend above your zodiac sign, and really get much greater understanding of what makes you tick and your potentials in the time ahead, there is 30% off with my special offer. Please see the link for that below too. Hello Taurus, and welcome to your monthly horoscope for April. Now it begins with the new moon, a new moon which is combining with Mercury, but for you this is your 12th house. Now this is quite a sensitive location for this new moon to occur, the most sensitive of the whole year probably, and Mercury of course is about how we think. So one of the things that you can gain from this situation over the next 4 weeks is to think more about the psychological dimension of life. You know, we can live in a physical plane, you know, fulfill our needs around food and comfort and the things we enjoy spending money on, but you have an opportunity to become much more conscious of your deeper motivations, perhaps the side of yourself that you may struggle with a little bit at times, the shadow, and also to become more in tune with the psychological basis of other people's behaviour and way of relating to you. So do see it as an opportunity. But I think with Mercury in the mix, there could be a feeling that others are standing off you a little more detached. And also in the first 9 days of this month, because Saturn is joined by Mars in the sign of Aquarius, you may find that your thinking and maybe even your worries is very much to do with your role in life. So that can be to do with work, responsibilities, obligations. If that's an area that's proven to be a little bit challenging, that's where your anxieties could go towards. However, on the 5th, Venus, your ruler, moves into a really beautiful part of your situation. This is the 11th house. This is the sector of friendship. Now, of course, Jupiter and Neptune are in this location and are in an alliance for the whole of this month within 3 degrees. So I think it's possible on the back of that new moon that you may be becoming much more conscious of the people you can really count on and rely upon. That old saying of a friend in need is a friend indeed is one that could really have greater resonance for you. But Venus moving into this area suggests that the people you can rely upon can turn out to be a big boost for you, particularly ready for when the sun moves into your sign on the 20th. So if there are some ties that make way in the early part of this month, but you're becoming more orientated on the people that really matter, just see that as being a process that is actually something to just go through, because once Mercury joins your sign on the 11th, I think you're going to feel much more reassured. Also on the 12th, that combination between Jupiter and Neptune, the two rulers of Pisces, becomes absolutely exact. Now from the 9th to the 12th, it is true there is a bit of a clash between Mercury and Pluto, and of course Pluto continues its journey in the part of your scope to do with widening your horizons, developing the freer side of your nature. But I think when Mars arrives on the 15th to join up with Venus, Jupiter and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, I think that's really going to be a real spark moment, a positive moment. I think you're going to come out of your shell almost straight away, because with that 12th house energy, you may feel a bit more guarded or cautious in the early parts of this month. But then we have that full moon on the 16th. And it is quite a psychological full moon, because it could force into the open some issues that have been simmering beneath the surface. Now, some of it may just be because you have been feeling more sensitive at the start of this month. The more practical dimension that I'm encouraging you not to be so bound up with may need a little bit of attention. But this is a full moon that T-squares with Pluto, and therefore it can amplify any anxieties or anything that's a bit out of balance between where you give service and you provide help to others and where you're not feeding your own spiritual needs. Just be conscious of that. But by the 20th and the time that the sun moves into your sign, we've also had in the preceding 4 days Mercury combining with Uranus in your sign. So you're going to be revving up with lots of excitement, lots of brilliant ideas percolating, and once the sun moves into your sign, that's going to give you the green light to really launch forwards in a truly dynamic way. Now Pluto does go retrograde on the 29th. Anything to do with higher education, foreign travel, your philosophies may go through a period of reconsideration over the next 4 or 5 months. Something that's important to you may slow down a little bit. Pluto's a very strategic planet, and generally since 2008 has been pushing you to be much more spontaneous and daring, and dare I say adventurous. And there's probably been periods of time since 2008 when you have done something that's seen you break out what previously had been a more cozy and comforting structure, because you have felt so compelled with all that 9th house energy in Capricorn and Uranus moving through your sign to be that much more daring. But on the 29th, Mercury transits out of your sign and into its home sign of Gemini. But this is brilliant if you are thinking about a financial issue. And also the new moon, the black moon, which occurs in your sign on the 30th, is in a tremendous sextile to Mars. Now, the implications of that, I think, are really stunning, because Mars in the 11th house enables us to envision where we want to go, our future path, but it's not so centered on our individual needs that it can't collaborate with others. So Mars in the 11th house, particularly with Jupiter and Neptune being there, and of course Venus as well, your desire to work collaboratively with others is really boosted, but that doesn't mean to say that you lose your autonomy. I think this is a new moon which really is very much to do with the concept of, if you would like, a cooperative network. So you could be working as an individual but forging alliances with others also working as individuals, or you could find common interests with others that are very uplifting. So you're really going to power into the start of May in the most dynamic of ways. And also the last 5 days of this month sees your ruler in a tight alliance with Neptune. That's one of the most romantic connections of all, but it can also make you very idealistic. So if there is a friend or someone in your network that you're drawn to, either around their ideas or because of a romantic attraction, just be conscious that with Neptune some things can be a bit illusory, but if it's really cooking on gas, this can be the stuff of true love. But I love that black moon at the end of this month for you. It's very, very dynamic. So although you're going through this process this month where you may start the month feeling a bit withdrawn, a bit reflective, maybe even nostalgic, and maybe need to be conscious of clearing the path with maybe letting go of some associations that don't really work for you. I think new energies coming in, new hope, new friendships, new connections, and you can be right at the centre of it as this month draws to a close. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Taurus. Take care and goodbye for now.